none of us have strengths in every single aspect of leadership, business, sales, marketing, personal branding, tech, software. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one has 10 out of 10 in all of those different categories. We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. We are all amazing at certain things, and we are not as great as other things. So in my mind, it makes the most sense to collaborate, to bring our strengths into a place where we can just stay in our zone of genius and be able to collaborate and leverage other people's zone of genius so that we ourselves remove the need to recreate everything. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Diamond Life Mentor podcast with your host, Balazs W Kardos. I'm super pumped for this episode. I've had so much going on recently with the launch of GPM Base and a lot of other things as well. My son is going to be born in the next 4 or 5 weeks. Just been doing a lot of preparing around our home, getting his nursery set up, painting, furniture, shopping, doctor's appointments, a lot of things like that. It was my gorgeous wife's birthday this past weekend, and we celebrated her and spoiled her and made her feel extra special, which was a beautiful weekend with the family. And then, of course, just all the stuff that comes along with launching a new idea, new concept, disrupting the way that we've been doing certain things. And the response so far has been amazing. And I'm just so grateful to all of you who have either already gotten inside the base or have filled out your intake form and you're waiting for access this week. We are onboarding people in phases to make sure that we work out any bugs and kinks and so forth. And that has actually been a very smart idea because there's been a bunch of stuff that we've learned and already improved, and there's only like a few hundred people in there so far. So it's a really, really exciting time. I've been getting messages from leaders that are 6A and above, just letting me know that they get it, they see the vision, that this is something they feel has been missing, and it will unify the communities and the leadership and the different parts of the global prosperity movement who choose to align with this idea and basically take things to the next level. So it's already been so cool to see this idea that I've had for a while that was growing in my mind and evolving and shifting and all these different pieces coming together. And now it's out there in the world for other people to see. And it could be a little bit intense, right? Because sometimes things get lost in translation and your intentions, your vision may not be fully understood by other people. And that's definitely happened to a certain degree because there's no possible way to take the massive, complete picture and vision and put it into a couple of podcasts or launch with that, you know what I mean? Or else you get trapped in the perfectionism of, well, we can still make this better and we can still make this better and this isn't complete and this isn't done, and we never end up releasing anything. So I think that for where we're at so far, it's perfect and the response is good. People are starting to really feel comfortable inside the base, and we're going to be showing you more previews of what to expect and what's coming. We have a roadmap that's already in there as well, which is so cool. And we're just starting to get people to really understand the big picture. So this episode, I wanted to give you a little bit of an update around how the real power of what I'm proposing is going to be hard for some people to accept, right? Because whenever you feel like you are a leader or you have an ego or you really want to be the person front and center and it all revolves around you and that kind of thing, then it could be really, really tough to align yourself with other people that are powerful. But in my opinion, there's an element that we are in a really powerful position if we choose to accept it, which is that none of us are none of us have strengths in every single aspect of leadership, business, sales, marketing, personal branding, tech, software. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one has 10 out of 10 in all of those different categories. We all have our strengths. We all have our weaknesses. We are all amazing at certain things, and we are not as great as other things. So in my mind, it makes the most sense to collaborate, to bring our strengths into a place where we can just stay in our zone of genius and be able to collaborate and leverage other people's zone of genius so that we ourselves remove the need to recreate everything. And I think that that is really starting to happen, where people understand, like, hey, listen, I just want to keep talking about XYZ that I have results in, I have experience with. And if we can get the wider, bigger community to do this, it will completely change the game, because we won't be stepping on each other's toes and confusing our newest members in the community and all of that. So it's an exciting time. It's going to be a transition for sure. A lot of people are like first movers. They want to be a part of it right at the start. Other people are sitting back on their heels and waiting to see how things play out. I get it. We need every single different type of individual for society to work properly, right? So, I mean, I'm not attached to any of that. But the more I talk about this with high-level individuals, the more I see that we are building the future now. We are building the ecosystem that will attract communities, will attract powerful leaders and influencers and entrepreneurs over into GPM because of the collaborative nature. And so I feel like the more resistance there is now, the harder it will be for certain groups, I guess, to really prosper and flourish. And I wanted to kind of invite everybody to think about something that has been on my mind a lot. And it's this idea of, this is how we've always done it, so this is how it needs to stay, or this is how it needs to be. And I always think about stuff in my life when I'm redesigning my schedule, I'm redesigning my priorities, I'm redesigning how I show up, how I operate, how efficient I am at what I do. And anytime, obviously, you're bringing a new child into the world, it's a great opportunity to pause and reflect and look at your life as a blank canvas and go, what if I was to reimagine when I work, when I sleep, when I'm with my family, when I exercise, when I do certain things, almost like it's your very first time creating it, rather than feeling stuck in all of these different habits and priorities and schedules and times and so on. And I think like that's also a great opportunity for us right now as we transition into GPM Base and this new ecosystem of how we operate, is to pause and stop and ask, is this really the best way to do this? Because we've been doing it like this for so long that it just becomes this redundant habit, right? And I feel like so many people, until they pause to look at things like that, they won't realize how much they're leaving on the table, how much more potential they have, how much more productive they could be, how much more efficient they could be. And the more and more I talk with my internal executive team and some of the leaders that I've been in touch with, the more we realize that there's so much room for improvement. And one example is how there are a lot of ways that we are setting expectations unknowingly to create so much busyness in our lives, in our businesses around, for example, chats, right? Chats are a useful feature that are misused and done in a chaotic way 99% of the time. It's a lot of talk, a lot of chatter, a lot of noise, a lot of back and forth in an unorganized way. So when I've been doing this now for so many years, the way I look at this business as opposed to the way a new person sees this business is obviously completely different. And the way I see it now, after so many interactions with so many people and coaching endless amounts of people at this point, is that a chat is one of the biggest time wasters, A chat is one of the biggest ways to confuse people, to get mixed information, to have the blind leading the blind and giving advice and feedback on stuff they're not qualified to give feedback on, and so on and so on. And usually a chat is meant to be like a catch-all for recognizing that the systems and processes and training and modules and resources that are available to somebody are inefficient. And I'll give you a quick example. So when you do a webinar, right, a web class, and it's like a live web class where you have 100 people watching or something like this, and you have a presentation, and that presentation has been carefully thought out with a beginning, a middle, an end, covering features, benefits, all the questions typically that someone should have or might have should be addressed in that presentation. And then what happens is that at the very end of the presentation, the person says, does anybody have any questions? Now, if there are a lot of questions at the end of a web class inside the chat, then your presentation is not done well. Does this make sense? Because a really well thought out presentation is going to cover all of the questions very, very thoroughly. So at the end, when someone is making an educated decision and it's like, does anybody have any questions? What should be happening is no, there are no questions. And until that happens, and until there are questions, it is an opportunity to take the questions, build it back into the presentation, make sure that it's covered. Possibly it is covered, but maybe it's not clear and it's confusing and some people are not quite understanding it. So simplifying it, making it more clear, rewriting it, re-saying it a different way, and putting it in the presentation. Until one day, a month from now or whatever, somebody is like, I have no questions. All right. And I feel like once someone gets started in the business, it's the same thing. If there are constantly questions inside of a chat, how do I set this up? Where do I find this? How do I do that? How do I fill out the forms? How does this work? How does that work? Etc. It actually is just a great opportunity to reflect and go, why don't we have that in the training? Why doesn't everybody know exactly how to do that thing that is being asked? Which then makes the chat eventually redundant and useless, except for wasting time, except for people that should be working their business, should be talking with leads, should be helping people get started. They're in the chat back and forth, blah, 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 basically not doing much. So inside of GPM Base, this is one of the things that we're actually streamlining, is to reduce the necessary need for a chat when it comes to support, when it comes to how to XYZ, how to do this, how to do that. Instead, the chat could be more so about camaraderie. It could be about positivity. It could be about, something like I'm not saying that there is zero need for a chat, but there should be zero need specifically for a chat when it comes to support, because everything should just be streamlined, organized, and people know exactly where to find it, which is what we're doing in GPM Base. So all Enagic related questions, product questions, business questions, paperwork questions, technical questions, science questions, everything will be organized, and most of it already is, but we're continuing to add it and upgrade to it so that we can shift the culture from message me if you need help, which a lot of people say right now to their new business partners, is like, message me if you need something, send me a DM, I'm here for you, I got your back, I support you, I'm not going to leave you hanging, which is fine. It's good leadership to offer this, but it also ends up becoming a burden when you have a large group, a large team. One of the most common criteria and challenges that people share with me inside my mentorship is around this, is like, what I thought I was helping people with in the beginning is now taking up the majority of my time. And so I'm not able to actually focus on continuing to grow my business because I'm doing support, I'm doing FAQs, I'm answering questions, my DMs are full, and so on and so on. So we're actually going to shift the culture more that your support, your where you go for help is system dependent. It's not sponsor dependent. And this has been a major piece around my motivation, because some of the top all-time Hall of Fame networkers have always said this, right? Is like you should have people rely on your system and how to operate the system as opposed to relying on individuals and having to wait on someone's answer or, whatever, because that actually is removing us from the very reason we started this business, which is to have freedom of time and to not be in the DMs, not have to be on our phones constantly. So there's a massive opportunity right now for us to eliminate unnecessary distractions, to mitigate or completely stop the need for chats, to take the questions that are coming through from people, which are totally fine, and you should have questions, that's great, but taking it from a random question and putting it into a systemized process of how to find the answer to that question for next time. And so our goal is to continue refining things to the point where there's a master database of FAQs. We teach you how to search for the question and answer you're looking for, get the information you need, and you don't have to reach out to support. You don't have to reach out to your sponsor. You don't have to reach out to anything. You can become self-led and self-efficient in every area of the business. And that is exactly what we are going to achieve. And it's really exciting because it's a long time coming. This should have been in place a long time ago, but certain pieces just weren't really making a lot of sense, in my opinion. They weren't set up for the correct way to operate, in my opinion, until now. And now I feel like the ideas that I have and the way that we can deliver it to everybody is a match, which is so, so cool. Anyways, I'm just really pumped and excited to let more people in. We are going to have a migration period, and eventually we are going to have an ending to this migration period. And after that, the founding members will be completed, and then we're going to shift and transition into a new era where there's probably going to be some form of a paid version of the base and paid version of our systems, because at the end of the day, we do have a lot of expenses and overhead, and we can't operate everything for free. It doesn't make sense. But we are planning to reinvest a lot of the revenue back into some fun prizes and upgrades and trainers and coaches and stuff like that can continue to pour into the community to actually get people real, tangible results, right? Everything that we're building right now is based around real results. We are not building stuff for the sake of it. We're not building it for fluff. We're not building it for, here's a million different trainings that all get you no results. We are building it in a way where this is a proven method, a proven system, a proven, script, a proven marketing plan, and so on. Like, everything's going to be proven to generate results, and that's what we're going to stick to. And if it doesn't work, we're going to make sure it does before we release it to the community. So it's just been such an exciting time. And I was in a situation this past week where my time was so committed to so many things that were important to me, whether it was family, my son on the way with appointments, my wife's birthday. We had a couple of friends in town, Shar and Amy, that we met up with on Friday because my daughter's friends with her daughter. So that was really fun as well. We had a great time, but I really didn't actually have time to do that, but we still made it work and fit it in there. So I think like I was averaging between 5 and 6 hours of sleep, and I'm not that efficient under 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. So I was running the tank on empty. And one of the things that came up was like, sometimes you just have to do what you got to do, right? Some weeks are more intense and more busy than others. And I had a conversation with my wife, and she's like, why are you launching this right now? Why don't you launch it later? Why don't you do that? And I was basically just letting her know, I'm like, there will never be a perfect time to launch. There will always be a surprise, something unexpected where it's not convenient, it's not ideal, it's not a perfect situation. And that reminded me to let you guys know the same thing, is there is no perfect time to have kids. There is no perfect time to start your business. There is no perfect time for you to learn a new skill like advertising with ads or paid ads or something like this. There is no perfect time that you're waiting for to do the things that you want to do, whether it's take that trip or any of those things. there will always be something that makes it seem illogical, irrational, not the best time, whatever. But now that I'm on the other side of this launch a week later, and we made it happen. We made my wife's birthday a success, and it was special, and she had the best time. We got the launch done and it went off with very little issues. The baby's good, the doctor's good, everything. I caught up on sleep on the weekend and I feel rested and I feel great. Now looking back, I'm like, what if I would have just put things off? What if I would have said, not now, it's not ideal? Then we would have still been in this planning, preparing feeling rather than feeling of accomplishment, feeling of achievement, feeling of progress, feeling of moving the needle forward inside of our lives and inside of our businesses. So my suggestion to you is wherever you're at right now, there's always going to be a surprise, right? A lot of you, your kids just started to go back to school recently after a summer break, and you've maybe been procrastinating, not right now because it's summer, and then it's like, I'll do it when the kids go back to school. Now they're back to school and you're like, well, it's a little bit hectic, so I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait till Thanksgiving. Not right now. I'm going to wait till Christmas. Not right now. I'm going to do it in the new year. And next thing you know, a year has passed and you're still pushing it off, and you still haven't done it. And so my suggestion to you, based on myself leading by example, as I always aim to do, is just get it done. If it's hard, if it's uncomfortable, if you lose some sleep, if it's stressful, if it's overwhelming, whatever, it's still better than not doing it. So do it now. And now that that's done, we've laid the first brick, then we're on to the next brick this week. And brick by brick by brick, when we look back in a few years, we would have built this massive, impressive structure, brick by brick by brick. And throughout that process, there was so many times where it's not the right time. It's not ideal. It doesn't make sense, etc. And I think that, wherever you are right now in your business, in your personal life, whether it's starting to go work out at the gym, whether it's drinking more Kangen water every day, whether it's getting some ads going or getting on more sales calls, or taking that photo shoot to upgrade your brand image, or migrating your community over into GPM Base, whatever it might be for you that is on your mind, and it's a good idea and you have to do it and it's for your own best interest. Don't delay. Put a plan in place, even if it's just a minimum viable product, which is like called an MVP, where it's not finished, it's not done. There's a lot of layers that you're going to put on top of it still. Get the first version out there, take messy, imperfect action and get a result, get some kind of feedback, and then reassess the situation and tweak it and adjust it, and then go back to the drawing board and do it again and do it again and do it again and iterate and improve. Just like I said earlier, if you have a web class and you're getting a lot of questions at the end, redo your web class, redo your slides, incorporate the questions so that each time you present it, it's better than last time. And eventually your ideal client is watching the presentation, and at the very end, their main questions have been answered, and now they're just making an educated decision. Yes, I'm in. I get it. No, thank you. It's not for me. Rather than I have all these questions. And same thing with other areas of your life, is get that clarity and don't repeat the same thing without improving somehow. It's the same idea whether you're working out or any other area of your life that matters to you. If you have that progressive improvement and you're leaning into the discomfort of not having time and being overwhelmed and being busy, it's like, just wake up early, cut back on your sleep for a couple of days or whatever you need. Get that head start, get that jump, start feeling like you're making progress, which starts to fill up your cup, and you're like, man, this is amazing. And then once you achieve those first couple of things and get those milestones in place, then you're going to get better sleep with peace of mind, knowing that you're actually moving the needle forward on the stuff that's important to you. So this episode is a little bit shorter this week. Like I said, I had so much going on that I even contemplated not doing a new episode this week, but I was like, you know what? I'll just do a short one. I'll say hi. I'll pop in. I'll give a couple bits of value that hopefully applies to where you're at in your business. And come join us inside of GPM Base. Fill out the intake form. Follow the steps. We have about an 8 or 9 business day wait list right now, which is really cool. and we'll continue to kind of do this onboarding migration period until everything's ironed out and really smooth. We're adding new features every week, adding, functionality and more pieces of the puzzle every week. And so I highly, highly suggest that you get in there as soon as you can, check it all out, participate, engage, actually complete your checklist when you first come in. There's a welcome checklist with like 8 or 9 steps. Complete that, because it's your personal contribution and your level of effort and engagement that you're adding into the GPM base that actually makes it a worthy community for everybody else. So if everybody does their part and follows on the intentions and visions that I and my team have set out for everybody, then collectively we're going to make the most powerful, exciting, successful global prosperity community that we've ever had to date. And it will only get better the more people get added into the network and continue to expand and grow everything. So I'm super pumped for you guys. Next week, I'll give you another high-level podcast as well as I adjust to some of these new projects that are a part of my life and schedule as of this date. And I'm also going through this process of elimination, simplicity. What can I remove that no longer really is in alignment or serving me? And reimagining everything this month of September before my son makes his debut in October. So I'll fill you in and keep you up to date on what I decide to do, what major changes I'm looking to make, and why. On one of the future episodes coming up here. Please don't forget, share the podcast, post it on social media, tag us at the Diamond Life Mentor and my personal at Balazs W Kardos. Reach out to the team if you need anything, and we'll see you inside the base really soon. It's pretty exciting what's going on in there. All right, take care, my friend. Bye-bye.